Headed off to die? Let's go. I can't remember if I've talked about this before. I may have mentioned it once. I was recently on a flight. I just took a flight and I'm out. I finished a book. I usually just read books when I'm on a flight, but I'm sitting there and I'm going through the Rolodex of the movies you can watch. Up pops Top Gun Maverick, the sequel to Top Gun, which I think is one of the greatest sequels ever made. The way they paid homage to the first one, the way they did it, absolutely incredible. They could not have done a better job in my mind. But I'm watching that movie. I'm sitting there with a bunch of people all around me, and all of a sudden I'm getting like teary-eyed and almost falling apart. And I could tell, I was like, get a hold of yourself, man. Like, what's going on right now? But it occurred to me that it was worth thinking about why that happened and what kind of made that happen. And it was the scene when Tom Cruise, Maverick, that character, shows up in his dress whites to see Penny, that great character that they brought back, at least the name and the personality from the first movie. And he shows up in his dress whites to kind of let her know that he's going to war. So if you don't know the story, it won't ruin anything for it. He's training a group of people to go fight against some horrible target, I think in China, something like that. I'm sure they can't say that politically, but I think we know where it is. And he does think he's going to go on the mission. All of a sudden he's going on the mission. And so he goes to tell her this. And I'm getting emotional because I realize this is not a movie scene. I mean, they obviously glamorized it and glitzed it up because he's in choker whites, which is arguably one of the greatest uniforms that is out there. I think the Marines with their chokers, which are black, they may have one-upped us, but the ability to keep that white is obviously a higher level of performance that I think you need to take into account. But it's a great looking uniform. And then he goes to tell her that he's getting ready to deploy and go in harm's way. And I thought the actress, Conley, I think, did just such an amazing job of capturing this is what this life is. Be with somebody that's a warrior, they're going to go to war. And I think that's why it struck me then and is obviously striking me now, is that is not a movie scene for those of us that serve. I've had that conversation. I've sewn up in a uniform and let my lady know time to go, or we've prepared for that moment. And I think the reason it made me emotional was it's just picking a job where you put yourself in harm's way and you have probably a better than average chance of something going catastrophically wrong is an intense choice. And what you don't realize sometimes is how much that affects the people you love. And so it's the women, at least in our community, that have to bear the weight of that moment. You do as well, but you're saying goodbye to them. You're leaving to go launch off on campaign, go to dangerous ground, and leave them behind to have no kind of play whatsoever in how those events are going to unfold. So I know that moment. I know that moment well. It actually made me really think in some ways of Charlie Kirk. I haven't commented about him on social media. I think sometimes things are too big in some ways to even comment on. So I'm not going to comment on the horror of that situation and how big I think that's going to be in some ways, even movements within our culture and our country. But one of the things it made me think of that connected this was the idea of, I know for a fact Charlie knew he was in harm's way. He knew his calling put him into mortal danger. And he saddled up anyway. That's the good stuff. When you're somebody that's willing to say, hey, I'm willing to go put up into my life on the line for that which I believe and that which I want to pursue, that's a special character. That's a special type of person that's going to do that. And I think also in terms of the ladies, the family, the loved ones that have to bear the weight of that choice. It's unfair in many ways the way that works. But when I think of the people I like spending time with, they are the type of people that honor high ideals. They want to pursue the greatest, toughest level of challenge and what they believe in to fight all the way up into the worst potentially happening. Those are the people I like spending time with. Those are the people that I tip my hat to. Even the choice that may usher in your demise is something you're willing to saddle up and go for. You have my respect to the end of days. And in particular to the women that bear that weight. I've been in that moment. I've been in that saying goodbye, giving a kiss, and then turning around to go do the work. But I know the weight that's carried behind. I cannot tell you how much we appreciate it.